the first thing we need to do when we get these problems is look for location, okay? So if we have all students take calculus, and we need to know where tangent is negative here and here. Everybody remember that? But the sign has to be positive, so it has to be in the second quadrant, because it says the sine of theta is bigger than 0, which is positive. So it's going to give you a trig function, and then it's going to give you a clue so you can find what quadrant it's in, okay? And when it does that, you'll be good to go. So
the only one that's positive is A?
Well, yeah, but tan has to be negative, and sine has to be positive, and that's in quadrant 2. So we know it's in the second quadrant. Oh, that's a beautiful line right there. So we know it's in the second quadrant, and we draw a triangle in the second quadrant, okay? Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So I did that wrong. Opposite is here, and adjacent is here. Everybody get that?
I have to write stuff down.
So technically, the negative sign is always in the top part of a fraction. But technically, the guy that's negative is the 17. Does everybody understand that? Because you go left 17 and up 6 root 2. So if you're going to do your signs from here, you need to know that you need to put the sign on the right guy. Okay?
I thought it's tan. So.
Plot a point. When I plot a point, I go left 17 and up. So the 17 is the negative. Okay? So they want us to find the cosecant. So to find the cosecant, always see if you need to find other information. I gave you a couple easy ones that you don't need to find other information. So this one you do because you need the hypotenuse. So we have 6 root 2 squared plus negative 17 squared equals c squared. So that's 72 plus 289 equals c squared. And what is that? 361?
I did get 7.
So the square root of 361 is 19.
I think like 362.
So now we have cosecant. Well, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So sine of the angle is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosecant is going to be hypotenuse over opposite. So let's do 19 over 6 root 2. Everybody with me?
Nope.
All right, so then we have to get the radical out of the basement, and it's 19 root 2 over 12. Now, is that going to be positive or negative? Now you just look at the clues again to make sure you're not making a mistake on the sign. Since sine is positive, you know cosecant is its reciprocal, so it's also positive. Okay, so that's how you tell the sign. So we've got all students take calculus. And in this quadrant is the only one where the sine and the tangent would be negative, which is what they're telling you.
How do you know?
So we know it has to be in the we know it has to be in the fourth quadrant. So let's draw it. Just draw my triangle with theta. And they give me this baby, so that's opposite over adjacent. And who gets the negative sign this time? 13 is to the right and down, right? So the 2 is the down, the 2 root 30. And they want cosecant again, so we need the hypotenuse. It's hypotenuse. Cosecant of theta is hypotenuse over opposite. So we have to do 13 squared plus negative 2 root 30 squared equals c squared. That's 169 plus 4 times 30, 120 equals c squared. That's 289 equals c squared. And that's 17. What's the square root of 289? So the Hypotenuse is 17. You guys know how to do that now? It's pretty good.
What?
If you get a decimal, you've got to get simplify the radical as much as you can. If you get a whole number, you're good to go. Okay?
The C?
C is 17 because the square root of 289 is 17.
No, right, but
So cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite. Got it? So I like the negative on top, so I'm going to do that. So I'm going to do multiply by root 30 and root 30. So we got negative 17 root 30 over 60 is what I think the answer is. Now, why do I know it's negative? Because the sign is negative, and cosecant and sine are negative in the same quadrant.
I kind of forgot. Well, if you have a negative in your question, it's going to be a negative answer.
It will. The hypotenuse is always positive, and you put the negatives where they go if you know how to do that. The cosine has to be positive, so it can't be there. The tangent has to be positive, so it can't be here or here, because there the tangents are negative. So it has to be in the first quadrant. So we draw our picture. Theta is coming out of the middle. Opposite over adjacent. And we find our, do we need our, yeah, we need secant needs a hypotenuse. So it's going to be hypotenuse over adjacent is what we need to find. So we do 2 squared plus root 5 squared equals c squared. 4 plus 5 equals c squared. C equals 3.
Yeah.
So now we need 3 over 2 should be the answer. And it's positive because everybody's positive in the first quadrant.